Thank you, thank you. Well, my name is Roxana Diaz. Today, the idea is to share with you how you can explode the data lake using Tetration analytics. So some of you have one paper like this, right? All the lab is designed so that you can use it, and you can make all the exercise. So the number that are in the corner is the pod that you can use. If for some reason you don't want to do it in this moment, it's fine. The lab will be available all day today, so that you can enter and do all the things that I will do today. You can do it in a live system, okay? Just like you know. So let's start. So I will talk with you about why it's important, the information, right? How Tetration works, and what is Jupyter Notebooks, what that means, what we can use with that. And I will show you in the live system what kind of data you can obtain from the platform. So why the data is important? Because if you have all the data, that means I can have information. I can give some insight to the business about how is the customer, right? How they can penetrate in another way the market. So for that, data is very important. And also that gives me knowledge. We have some customers, for example, that start to use that knowledge to decide when is the best time that they can, for example, launch a new product. Or depend on the necessity of the customer, I can start to send, and I think it's something that we are start to live today, right? For example, in Amazon, when you enter and try to find a product, and for some reason you didn't buy, but then they start to send you all the times like information, promotion regarding that product that you start to look. Or maybe another products, right? So if we have data, and we have information, and we have the knowledge, then we can have the power of the data. And that's something that Tetration can give us to us. Because Tetration is a platform that is designed to give visibility inside the data center. Some of you already hear about Tetration analytics. Can you raise your hand? Okay. Some of you already see the system? Okay. So how this works? We have an analytic engine, right, that we need to feed with the different sensors that we have. So we can have the software sensors, the hardware, the net flow, the ear span, or also any connect. All this data is ingested to the system. So the system, based on some algorithms, can tell you what is the ADM, what is the dependency of some applications, also can give you insight about what policies you can implement. And at the same time, and this is the most important, is all this data is stored in the system, right? So it's not just the thing that the system can bring to you. We have different ways to access the platform, that it's using the web. Also, we can use the APIs. And also, we can use Tetration applications, or we can send notification or receive notification from other systems. So this platform is not just the thing that he can give it to you. It's also how you can interact with the system, because the data is already there. One of the differences that Tetration has is that we obtain all the flows. We are not using sampling. So we take all the data. So if you want to come back in a specific point of time, you can do it. And we can give you all the information from a specific server, or maybe for a specific flow, or maybe a process. And also, we can feed the system with the source. But now let's talk about the data platform that the system has. What does it mean? With that system, you can modify, you can extract the data, and also you can mix the data with other sources to obtain different kind of information. We can use machine learning, right, to accomplish specific goals, but also you can create jobs inside the system. You don't need to extract the data. You can do it from the system. what is the architecture that we have? You can have access to the data lake, right? If you want to upload information to the system, then you can create the data sync. And also we have external API communication. And we have two kinds of elements in the data platform. One is Tetration application. That is an application that Cisco developed, and you can just download. It's like, if you know ACI, for example, we have also ACI application so that you can download and just install. And we can take all of this information to also send notification using Kafka. So what are the features that we have? In user application, we can write the code using Python, using Scala, or SQL. Here is where we will use the Jupyter notebooks. Okay? Also, we can send message, and we can transfer the data that is inside the system. And the other is the Tetration application. But we will focus in this session in user applications. So user applications, I can take the data from the system or from different APIs or other sources. I can put in the system, I can manage the data, and then I can present. Also, inside the system, I can create some graphics if we use the correct libraries. But what is Jupyter Notebooks? I don't know if you already know about that. Jupyter Notebooks is more used for data science, right? So that we can analyze the data and what is happening inside. Really, this is an acronym from language that is Julia, Python, and R. Right now, the system can manage more systems like SQL and others. Databricks, Spark notebooks also, Apache. And also you can clean, transform. Also you can import different libraries to make analysis of information. For example, you want to know, and we will do in the session, I want to know how many flows I have from a specific IP. I can have the information. Okay? So let's go to the system. The idea is that you can see live. So like I mentioned, the people that have the paper with the number can enter to this link that will be published in the WebEx Connect. And here I have a little explanation about what is Jupyter Notebooks. Also, you can try use Jupyter Notebooks without the system. You can install in your machine, or there are some systems in Jupyter Notebooks organization that you can use if you want to test and you want to start to play with that. For the people that has the paper, please just, depend of the number that you have, can be pod 01, 02, 03, until 10. That's the way that you will enter to the system. So when you enter to the system, the thing that you will see is the security dashboard that the system has. So to enter to the data platform, you need to go to the data platform and user applications. Okay? Here by default, you can see some examples that some of the developers create already, so that explain you how you can use the system and how you can exploit the data. So first, we create our first notebook, Jupyter Notebook. So just to follow with the line, with the guide, I will put this name. You need to put Python Spark, right? And the system will display the menu. So we have different kind of cells inside the system. One, it's code. So when you put some code inside, you can execute the code. Also, if you if you select Markdown, that we will do right now, you can edit the information. I mean, you can send image, or you can put some documentation. So if I select Markdown and I put the code, now I have the image. Okay? When the cell is green, is that it's waiting for something. When you execute the code, sometimes here you will see an asterisk that is saying that the system is waiting for the information. And if it's in black, means that it's thinking. Okay? The way that you process all the cells, because this is like a consecutive, you will start to see the numbers. Because if we put some variables, you then see how is the communication. So first, like all the language, right? We will print the hello. I will not say hello world. I will say hello Cisco Live Barcelona because we're in Cisco Live Barcelona, right? So I can print. I have two ways to execute the code. One is just select this play button, right? Also, if I want to create more cells, I can have this plus button. If I want to remove a cell, I just need to put the scissors. And also I can copy, or maybe I want to modify the flow of the script. So for example, if I create more, with this line, I can modify. Okay. Now, this is one way to run the system. The other is I can select Command and Shift and Enter. Sorry. So also I can execute the line. And if you see, I can put some hash. This helped me to put some marks, some notes inside the code. So one of the recommendations is when you start to create this kind of notebooks, try to use annotations so that you know what you are trying to achieve in each of the cells. So this is like basic, right? Now what happens if I want, for example, to print some numbers, 1 to 10? Because and then this is Python. So I can use this. Now what happened? Let me run this. And if you see, each cell is independent. So if I have a problem in one, that not means that the other is not running. So depending how much code you put in each of the cells, it's how you can start to run the code. Also, you can put variables. If you put, if for example, I put a variable here, and then I modify that variable, when I print again, now I will take the information from the last update that I have, not the beginning. Okay? So this is our first Jupyter notebook. Let me come back. The idea is when you run the system, please stop the process so that we can save more resources. So now we will start to enter to the database, to the data lake of the system. So I will create another notebook. But now, I will use some libraries. Also, the system can give you the option, if you can go here in options, application options, and you want, for example, to read the data lake, here can give you examples of how you can do it, and the different kind of tables that you can see. So I will play with the number 4. If I select input path, here you can be the options that the system can give you. The tetration is when you access to the data lake. And we have 4 types of tables. One is flow. The other is inventory, machine, and shallow flows. Each of these has different kind of data. So flows, we will review each so that you can see the different values that you can have from the system. But flows mean that you can see all the information regarding source IP address, the amount of data, the timestamp of the flow. So all the things that you see in the system, in the flow search, the people that already see the system, and let me enter to another cluster. That you can see it. So if I go to flow search, so all the attributes that we have here is something that we will see in the data lake, right? Okay. So if we want to see flows, for example, so I can select flows. I will dismiss the information, and also I can copy the headers. With this, I'm saying that I want to use or create a table inside the system, right? And I want to obtain all the flows from this data store or from this table. And I will put all the information in a specific table that I will call flow DL. So I will run. If you see, here is the asterisk that I mentioned. When I run this, I'm creating that table, so now I can start to manipulate what is inside there. So if I want to see the information that is inside the table, the thing that I'm saying is I'm creating a new variable where I say, give me all the flows, but just bring me 3 flows, okay? Because that's the side that I want. And now we want to see what is the data, right? So I can take the head. So I want to just that they bring me the first information. And also, I want to know how is displayed this information. So now he's bringing me all the row and columns of this package. But this is difficult to read, right? Also for me, it has no sense. We need to be very precise. Where is the flow? Where is the information? So also we can use pandas to have these views. depend on the amount of data that you will have. In this case, we say 3, right? Remember? What happens if I modify the value and I put bring me 8? So I need to run this again. You see the number? We are in 6. And now, because I'm running again, now it's 7. So now they have the new values. So if I run this again, will be 8. Now you will see the 8 flows with all the information. Okay. And you say, okay, it's interesting. Now, how I know how is the name of that data, right? Because maybe here I need to display, I need to move from the screen and I don't want. Also, if you use the list, my query, you can see all the columns and the names of the columns that the system has. I don't want to retrieve data from the system. I just want to know what kind of data this kind of table given to me. So I can modify and start to play with the data. Okay? So we are okay? Okay. Now we want to do the same. Sorry. I will stop. Now we want to understand the data. The difference between the different tables that I show you. So I create a new application. Also, I will use the same libraries. If you see, always when you want to retrieve the data, most of the time you can use the SQL that is here. Okay? Now, for example, in the other table, if you remember, we only have the information regarding the source, the package, the ports, the amount of bytes, and that's all. If I want to know, for example, what are the operation systems that I have in the network, I need to go to the machine table. So I will follow the same process that we did early. I'm calling the table to create a new table that is machine data, and I will call machines. And I want that the system bring me just the first 5 elements. But if you remember, now we are doing different. Because in the other, we select and we say the limit. Here, I'm doing that with this command. So also, there are different ways to achieve the same results. You don't not to follow always the same. So you have different options inside the system. So now, we are querying the machine's information. And if you see here, we have the time stamp, the UUID of the host, and also the versions of the operation system. If I want to see, you already have it, but that you see that is the same. If I want to obtain just the columns, if you want, for example, when you want to play, that we will do it. Just give me a second, right? You can use the list. The other is, I already showed you how you can view the data, right, in tables. But with Metasploit, you can graphic the information. So in this case, we need to create the count of the operation systems to see how many we have, right? So if you see, I'm just calling using the name of the columns and also the machines, the variable that I create in early. Okay. So they say we have just one system. So if I want to graphicate the information, I can use Matplotlib that we already import here. Okay? So what happened for the people that already know about Tetration, you know that we can tag the information inside the cluster. What this means? That I can create rules, I can create scopes, I can define based on the tagging of the data. So instead to say I want to allow the traffic between the network 10 and the network 20, I can say I can allow the traffic between production and maybe development, right? If you want to see that information, because that is something that you need to edit, I will create the table with that view. Sorry. Sometimes, depending on the amount of that data that you have, can take some time. But I will show you how you can do it faster also. So for example, here, this is the table of inventory. If you see, we are saying, I want the last 24 hours of information. Of course, I'm not displaying everything, because I already mentioned that Tetration can take all the data, right? So I'm just limit this to 5. Remember that you can modify that number. But here we can have the IP address and also the tagging scope and the name of this scope. So for example, I have a customer that say, okay, what happens if I want to create all the scopes using programmability? I don't want to enter to the system. The way that we did it is enter here, you do the scopes, right? And you can create from here. But he don't want to use that. So we can use this information so that he can push to the system and he can modify all the variables. Okay? And the other, if you want to see the shallow flows, now I forgot to run the list. All the columns that we have. If you want to see the shallow, we only need to change the table. If you see now, we are just taking the last hour, not the 24 hours. I create another name. And here is the information. If you remember, this table has the same columns that flows. The difference is here, I'm just seeing the shallow. So the data is different that you can see here. Okay? And the other is, if you see, I create in the same notebook different views of different tables. So you don't need to repeat this. You can do it one time, and then you can start to create the different tables that you want to manage. Okay. Now, we already know how we can play with the system, the different kind of tables that we have. Now, we will play with the data. So I will create another system, another notebook, sorry. I will call process. But here we will do something different. Inside Tetration, also we have a Spark. So in the other queries, I'm getting the information from the data lake. So I go to the system, go to the data lake, and obtain the data. Now, these queries, I will do it using a Spark. So I will put all the information in memory so that we can start to manage. And you will see the difference between the queries that I already did with this. This will be more faster. The same. Also, I want to modify the table and the kind of information that I want to receive from it. I don't want all the columns. I just want source, destination, ports, and others. So the first thing that we need to do is create our table, right? Then let me see if I can. I will specify a specific IP address. And the thing that we have here is you have the flows, right? So I'm saying from this table that we already see the values, I just want to have source, address, destination, port, also the forward package, and this information from this table that I already created, but I want the information just based on a specific IP address. So I say where source address is 172.17.423. And I will print the information. Oh, sorry. I need to run it again. So if you see with this, let me do this again. But the idea is, when you already know what kind of information you can have from the system, for example, you can start to obtain information like, give me or advise me if someone is trying to do a port scan, or tell me when some device is reaching an amount of package that is receiving. Because also the system can send alerts using Kafka. So it's not just that you can have the information. Also you can send to other systems so that they can take specific actions, right? and you can modify the tables. So for example, for annotations, if you already upload all your annotations, but you want to modify, I have a customer that mentioned, okay, look, my system is very dynamic. So sometimes I use the 10.1.1.1 with a host name rocks, right? But maybe, because it's dynamic, I will use the same IP address, but now it's another system. Now it's Cisco Live. So how can tell the system that also the information they need to refresh? So you can use this kind of tools so that you can enter and modify just that part of the table. Okay? In this case, I don't have any system. What is the way that you can start to duplicate the information? So, in conclusion, and I will change, but if you want to see, for example, how you send Kafka and how you can mix data, that you can upload data using the data sync to the system, and you can start to create different kind of views of information, we run another session that is the 2612, where you can see that kind of tools. So let me come back. I will put this in the WebEx so that the people that want to do all the lab, you can do it. So we mentioned, if you see that user application really needs power, because we are not closing the data lake. You can still process, manage, and manipulate the data that is inside. And also you can modify using the Jupyter Notebooks tools, right, with the Spark. So in this session, you already see how you create a Jupyter Notebook, how kind of different tables and different information we can obtain from the different systems, right? And also how you can manipulate the data. So that is from here, you can start to think the different use cases that you can use trying to exploit this tool. Because sometimes the customers say, I want that you give me a specific process, or maybe that I want to tag this flow with this IP address and you bring me all the information. So you can do it via the GUI, or you can do it using the user application system. Okay? So, thank you.